Hey, what's going on, my friends? Chad here. It is now 3 o'clock. Mariners are tied atop the AL West with the Astros after Houston's win over Texas. Today, Seattle will look to bounce back after last night's loss to Detroit. Tigers and Mariners game 2 tonight. That first pitch at 6:40. Kirby's on the bump for the M's. From college football, Texas has lost running back C.J. Baxter for the season due to a knee surgery. From the NFL MVP Lamar Jackson said he felt, quote, fat and slow, so he dropped 15 pounds to get ready for the season. Seahawks meet the Chargers Saturday in Los Angeles for their first preseason game. Kickoff at 4:05. The Hawks are favored by 2. And the NCAA has ordered a 4-year show cause on former Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh for recruiting violations and noted intentional disregard for NCAA rules and violations. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad's coming at you next. Sean Hike and Rose Garden report at 4:20. And the Ginger, Justin Myers, at 5:20.
Hey, you're probably looking for Dwight. Sorry to inform you, Dwight has a new number. If you could tell him to tell his associates and other business partners or whoever he works with to let them know that he's changed his number. I am getting really tired of receiving all your guys' texts and voicemails. Thank you and have a nice day.
The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
Second time through the order for him. He struck out looking in his first at-bat, and now he pops it up. Shallow right center field. Manny Pena going out. Hurley coming in. Conocello coming in. And Gavin Conocello will make the catch. A quick inning for Merrill Kelly. He is through 4 innings here in his rehab appearance. Thrown 59 pitches, 36 strikes, and has struck out 2.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad starts now.
All right, let's take just a moment to enjoy the lovely sounds of Neil Sean. Does that sound good, Godfather?
You bet.
Crank it. All right, I'm ready for this show. What's up, my friends? Welcome in Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Just for one moment, I wish I could stroke a guitar like that, Godfather.
Oh, man. Every guy's dream is to be able to play guitar like that.
Well,
isn't
maybe it's not stroke. I think it might be strum, right?
it? Yeah. Pick.
You don't
Strum.
stroke a guitar, do you?
Well, maybe you do.
Maybe the French pole vaulter does. What's up, brother? It's good to see you.
Great to be here, Chad.
I feel pretty loony right now. I had a great workout today. My workout partner of 32 glorious years, Luke, absolutely destroyed me. Once again, absolutely crushed me today. So you're getting the best of what I have to offer right now because the endorphins are flowing. When those go away, I don't know what you're going to get. So hopefully they can last for another 3 hours, although I doubt it. But, man, it's good to see you.
Keep drinking the coffee, Chad.
That's right. Caffeine is your friend. So you went out last night after the show.
Yeah.
Good traffic or decent traffic. You got out to the park at a good time.
Brutal traffic.
How was the experience out at the ballpark on a beautiful evening?
Chad, I had a lot to talk about. You know, it was really fun. And I went out because Merrill Kelly, who was really a good Major League pitcher, was doing a rehab there. And he threw 64 pitches, I think, a little more than 4 innings. Had a kind of a rough start. The leadoff hitter took him over the center field wall.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the way rehab things go. He's not ready. He hasn't been out on the mound against live hitters probably. So it was fun. And what I thought was interesting, Chad, he brought his own baseballs with him. Now, The Major League ball is just a little different than the minor league ball. The seams are a little different.
It is?
Yeah, they're stretched a little tighter and everything.
Are you pulling my leg right
No,
now?
I'm not. I'm serious. So when he was on the mound, they were changing baseballs all the time. And of course, he's a major league pitcher, so he's used to every time the ball hits the ground, new ball. So I don't know if in the minor leagues they do that all the time, but in the big leagues they do. So he's asking for a new ball all the time. And then, I realized what they were doing, and Seth confirmed that for me later on the radio. He said, yeah, he's using the Major League Baseball, which is just a little different than the minor league ball.
Interesting. I just would have thought that the baseball was the baseball, and it would be the same both in the minors or in the major league level, because why would you want them playing with a different baseball? That just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Why would you do that?
Well, maybe the Major League balls travel a little further. Maybe that gets you a little more attention.
Well, or it could be that the minor league ball is cheaper, and these teams are cheap and don't want to spend as much money. That could be it too, right?
Yeah, well, that's probably what it is. And now, see, a lot of things are different because Major League Baseball is running minor league baseball. They never used to do that, but they are now.
And they're still giving them balls that aren't the same.
Yeah.
Are you sure? I just never heard of this. It doesn't even make sense. Why would you want your guys who are going to eventually, hopefully, get up to the major league level to play with different balls?
Well, it's not something that anybody but a big league pitcher would probably recognize. And I don't even know if he needed to do that.
Does it matter to a hitter which baseball is which?
Well, no. They're the same size, in terms of hitting them. I would bet you, though, that the big league ball probably travels a little better.
No, I'm not even trying to make an issue of this. I just had no idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Do they play with a different size basketball in the G League than they do the NBA?
No, but they do WNBA and NBA.
Well, I know that. Women,
Well-
I'm talking about men and men.
I know.
Yeah. So the G League is the same. That's stupid. Just get with the same baseball. I would bet money it has nothing to do with the baseball being juiced, which is quite possible because Major League Baseball does like home runs because it brings more people to the ballpark. I bet it's cheaper.
No, I think you're probably right.
Gosh.
The one thing I do know from throwing out the first pitch, because I noticed these things, guess whose signature now is on the minor league baseball?
Well, it's got to be one person that you hate, Rob Manfred.
Rob Manfred. I told Seth Hoyland this yesterday. I said, there's nothing. I think I told Rich Burke. I don't like looking at a minor league baseball and seeing Rob Manfred's signature on it. I'm sorry. I get enough of him in the big leagues. I don't want to hear about him out in Hillsborough.
Is Skeletor's name on the NBA basketball now? And the NBA basketball is made by Wilson now, not
It is.
Spalding, right?
Yeah, correct.
My guess is Commissioner Silver, because I had a legitimate Spalding NBA ball. It was genius. I went down to G.I. Joe's. Remember G.I. Joe's, the old...
Of course. Big sponsor for all sports on the radio, too.
And it was the Ticketmaster place where you would go to get tickets and wait in line for all that nonsense.
That's right.
Well,
That was back in the days when you had to go to a Ticketmaster rather than online.
100%.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. It's like, Dad, I got to go get Bronco tickets for us. All right, have fun. Well, I went to G.I. Joe's once, and they had the Spalding official NBA game balls in the back, and someone had tagged the ball. It's normally like an $80 basketball circa 1990, let's just say.
Mhm.
And I went back there, and someone had put like a $12.99 tag on it.
That's for the cheap outdoor ball, right?
Yes. And I saw that, and I was like, I wonder if I could just pull a fast one on the checker and see what they say.
Yeah.
And, of course, I went up there, and they checked it. And they're like, are you sure that's the right price tag? And I said, that's the one that's on it. And so they did a check, and I said, well, we mistagged it, so you can have it at that price.
Oh, perfect.
I got over, finally. Got an $80 basketball for $12.99 at G.I. Joe's.
Now, tell me you didn't run out and play with it in the street like a lot of kids did.
No,
Because those are leather balls, right?
I know, yeah, leather balls. Well, I did.
Yeah.
And my basketball coach and one of my mentors, Alan Butler, who is still a very good friend, he saw me out at the water tower where we play hoop, and it was like one of those, it was a harder top court, and I took my ball out there, and he goes, what ball are you playing with? And I threw it to him. He goes, do not ever let me catch you again dribbling this basketball on anything but the hardwood.
Good for him.
And he saved me because it would have destroyed the ball.
Yeah.
But my whole point being is that David Stern's signature was on that official game ball.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner of the NBA, David Stern.
Yeah.
So-
So Adam signs him now.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Adam. But the reason why we wanted that ball is because it was different. You could shoot better. The leather ball came off your fingers better.
Yeah.
It felt better. Everything about it was better because the composite balls that were kind of indoor-outdoor, they were okay, but they didn't feel as smooth coming off the fingers. Too sticky or tacky, in my opinion.
I agree, Chad. And I also thought they were just better balanced. There was a balance thing with them, easier to handle, easier to shoot. There was just something really good about those basketballs.
All right, what can you tell me about this soon to be on the Major League level with the Mariners, Lazaro Montez? By the way, I like the name Lazaro, and I like his last name Montez.
It rhymes with
I
Bizarro.
may change my name to Lazaro.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was surprised. And again, I was tipped off on this, that this kid is just up from their short season A-ball team.
Yeah.
And he's killing the Northwest League just like he did down below. Lazaro Montez, he's 6'4". I looked him up. They listed him somewhere online as 225. He's 240 at least. I mean, the guy is a monster. He is huge.
Whoa.
He's from Havana, Cuba, and we're starting to see more Cuban players infiltrate the game. And they grow up playing baseball every day of the year. I mean, they play all the time. They love their baseball in Cuba. But this kid is really something, Chad. He had a ground ball out that they measured velocity-wise at 115 miles an hour, which is the hardest hit ball at that stadium all season long.
Oh.
And I mean, that's a really hard hit ball. In the big leagues, it would be a very hard hit ball. Usually, if a guy hits the ball that hard, it's a home run. This is a ground out to second base. It's lucky he didn't kill the second baseman. I mean, he hits the ball hard. He's got a good throwing arm. He can run. He can do it all. I would say in 2 years you'll be seeing him in the big leagues. It'll take him a while. I think he's still only 19, but he's a man-child. He was amazing.
So as Sweet Lou would say, he's a good-looking ball player.
Yes, I would think Sweet Lou would like him a lot. And then the Hops have a kid, and the Hops have a lot of prospects on their team now. They're a lot more fun to watch than they were early in the season because they've really bulked up their roster. But their catcher, Christian Serta, is a very, very good-looking player. Got a really good throwing arm, threw a guy out stealing, which I thought he had no chance to get him. And then he hit the ball out of the park over the center field wall also. Great power and a pretty good-looking hitter, I think.
Well, we got a big show. Justin Myers, host of Rip City Morning, is going to stop by at 5:20 today.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report at 4:20. And then we got a lot of NFL news. The 49ers, they might be dumb. Nick Sirianni might be dumb. And the Jets are definitely a pathetically run organization.
Yeah.
What a disaster.
Yeah, it's a good show for dum-dums today, I think.
Gosh. It's funny because Nick Sirianni, like, you don't have to be a genius to watch that guy coach and realize that he might be a psychotic.
Yeah, there's something about him.
Settle down, bro.
I know. He doesn't seem to want to be liked at all. He likes being the heel, you know?
He'd be good in wrestling.
Yeah.
He could fit that role. I'm still mad at you for not wanting to step in and be a ref in a wrestling match and be the heel. Come on, man. You missed out on an opportunity, Godfather. I figured a big wrestling family like you would have the guts to step in the ring.
No, I had the good sense not to get in the ring with those guys.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. When we come back, the Jets are dumb, and the 49ers, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish, but obviously they don't care about winning a championship, and Christian McCaffrey's injury might be a bigger issue than you might think. We'll get to that next. We'll talk with Justin Myers at 5:20 and Sean Highkin at 4:20 here on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Oh, Shacker busting out a little Janet Jackson. I like that.
Very nice.
You know, everyone talks about Michael, and rightfully so, king of pop, but, man, Janet Jackson had a white-hot run for an extended period of time. All right, we got to talk some NFL, Godfather. You seem as excited about Janet Jackson as you do George Michael, so I'll just move right along
I
here.
like Janet.
Okay, what are the Jets doing? I don't understand what the Jets are doing. They have a coach that says a lot of dumb things.
Mm-hmm.
They've been mismanaged as an organization for quite some time. And now they go out and make a deal for a guy. And as you put it, they knew when they made the deal that he wanted out of Philly because he wanted a new contract.
That's why he was available.
Yes.
That was the only reason they were trading him. They didn't want to pay him.
No, and the reason why you make a trade for a player like that is like, okay, incredibly talented.
Yeah.
He's going to make a difference on the football team. We're trying to win right now with Aaron Rodgers. But you don't make that deal without the understanding that you're going to have to sign him to a new contract.
Yeah. Well, and it's easy to talk to his agent ahead of time and say, okay, what's he looking for? All right, we can do that.
Yeah.
All right, you pull the trigger, you make the trade.
But if you can't do that, you don't make the trade and then bring in a guy
Exactly.
who's disgruntled because it's like, wait a second, you brought me in, you knew I wanted a new deal, and now you're playing hardball?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
I think they're saying that once the Jets got him, the agent upped the ante a little bit, which would be a real snake thing for the agent to do. And I think it would cost him in the long run in his dealings with teams if he tried to pull something like that.
Well, that's what the Jets want you to believe.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. I think that's their side of the story. But
Well, I don't believe anything that comes from the Jets side because they're dumb. And they've been a bad organization for a long period of time. And there's a reason why certain teams always seem to hang out near the bottom of the pack.
Mhm.
And it's because of maneuvers like this. And Reddick is a player who can absolutely come in and help you day one. You
Yeah.
want him involved in camp. You want him to be a part of the activities because, well, you were talking about this yesterday with baseball. A guy like Freddie Freeman being on the field, making plays for you, being in the clubhouse. He understands how things are done and can point younger guys in the right direction. Reddick is the same type of player, big-time baller with talent that other players will respect. And
Mhm.
he can set the example for, hey, this is how we do things now with the Jets. This is what is needed to win. I've been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We got Aaron Rodgers, but this is the way we got to do things. You want that type of player around, not sitting out collecting massive fines and being bitter.
Yeah, I'm guessing he brings a real intensity to that locker room. I would believe just watching him play. Pretty intense player.
Very intense.
Yeah.
Very intense, great player, and that's the type of player you want. So I just don't understand why the Jets, of all teams right now, you would think after what happened last year, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt right at the start of the season. They've got Zach Wilson. He's a disaster. They've got problems with the offensive coordinator. They've just got issues all over the place. It's the last team that needs any type of noise right now. You want it to be quiet and focused on ball, focused on what it's going to take for the franchise to get out of their own way. And right now they've got noise with Reddick. Yeah, I just don't understand why you don't want noise.
Well, and I mean, if there was ever a team facing an all or nothing kind of season, it's them. I mean, they got Rodgers. Okay, second year of a 2-year deal. May want to come back if this year goes according to plan. But they've thrown all their chips in right now. This is their chance. I would think you would want all hands on deck, go for it, bring everybody in you can, shoot the moon here. This is your shot.
All right, this is a report from ESPN, and they're trying to paint a picture of how we got to this point. And they say, quote, what makes this so strange is the Jets had communicated with Reddick's camp before the trade was finalized, as they had received permission from the Eagles to do just that. In theory, the Jets and Reddick should have been on the same page regarding this contract situation, particularly since there were warning signs. It was known throughout the NFL that Reddick wanted a contract that would make him one of the highest paid edge rushers. The Jets should have executed a deal with Reddick before making the trade, or at the very least, establish parameters. Two agents not affiliated with Reddick told ESPN. One agent said he's, quote, super surprised they didn't have an agreement in place with Reddick. The other agent said, you don't do a trade until you know what the parameters are.
Of course. I mean, any numbskull knows that. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yes, and Reddick's not just a good player; he's one of the best edge rushers in football.
Mhm.
And I mean, you look at football right now; the three most important positions, the building blocks, the cornerstones of a franchise, are quarterback, edge rusher, and I would say left tackle.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's why when you get a player like Reddick to come in as an edge rusher, and like you said, that they know they got to pay him. You're trying to win right now. Aaron Rodgers right now. You may not have a next year with Aaron Rodgers. It's right now. So get the deal done and then play out one glorious year with
Yeah.
Rodgers. And if he decides to retire, then you deal with the aftermath when you need to.
Right. Yeah. Deal with it this year. Go for it. And then, look, if it doesn't work out, move the guy in the offseason after this year. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. So the bottom line for me here is this is why I think the Jets are not going to do anything this year. It has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. It has to do with the incompetence in the front office, as seen here with the Reddick deal, and then their head coach. I do not believe that Robert Saleh is a guy who can lead that team anywhere.
Mhm.
They just better hope.
Mm.
Here's what can save them. Aaron Rodgers bouncing back from the Achilles injury and playing near MVP-like football
Mhm.
to where they can overcome stupidity and decisions either being made or not being made or bad decisions being made. That's the only way they can overcome it is greatness from Rodgers. The problem is I don't know if he's got MVP level Rodgers left. He may be really good, but maybe not MVP like,
Right.
and therefore they won't be able to get out of their own way. That's kind of what I'm expecting from the Jets. And then you look at the division, you got Buffalo and you got Miami, two teams right now that I would rank squarely ahead of the Jets in the division.
Yes.
That's all. The Patriots suck. We know they're going to be last. The Jets probably ahead of the Patriots, but those other two teams I trust a lot more because you have better leadership, better quarterback play, better talent, better coaching. That's all. The Jets are what they are. They are who we thought they were. Dumb.
Yeah. It just the whole thing just boggles my mind. It has for weeks now as I sit back and watch this thing. Nobody seems to be making any progress toward a deal. He's still sitting out, and I don't know. It's madness. It's just madness. This is the Jets right here.
Well, what's unfortunate, look, I'm not a Jet fan, so if they suck and end up being
Yeah,
last
right.
in
Who
the division,
cares?
I don't care.
Yeah.
But it would be a lot of fun to see Rodgers bounce back coming off the Achilles, playing high-level football, and the Jets being a playoff factor. That would be good for the league, and it would be a great story. It'd be fun to watch.
Yeah.
They can't even do that for us. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
It would definitely be a big ratings boost for the league to have the Jets be a watchable team.
Yes, no question about it. All right, other problems. The 49ers have a variety of issues right now, and one of them is their best receiver, Brandon Ayuk, who, well, he wants out. He wants a new contract. He wants to get paid among the best in the NFL because he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And the 49ers are playing hardball because they know they've got big money that's got to go out elsewhere. They've already paid McCaffrey. They're going to have to pay their left tackle. They've got a pending situation with their quarterback where they're going to have to pay him probably 60 to 65 million a year, which is insane. So they know that there's going to be a big crunch, and therefore they're trying to play hardball with Ayuk. The problem is he was their leading receiver last year, and you and I are on the same page here. In that zone scheme, and I know this from watching years of Mike Shanahan in Denver, the reason why Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey were so good in the Bronco offense, yes, they could catch the ball. They had good hands, and they would make plays downfield. But they were big, bruising wide receivers that had no issue blocking down after down after down to clear ways for Terrell Davis and whichever runner, Clinton Portis, they had back there. In that zone scheme, you have to have dominant blocking wide receivers. And if you do, your offense is going to go. So I would make the argument that Ayuk is just as valuable in the run game as a blocking wide receiver as he is in the passing game, providing a high-speed, reliable target for Purdy. That's kind of how I see Ayuk. That's his value there. He can do everything for him.
Yeah, that's what people are saying is that that's what separates him from those other great wideouts that are out there. Maybe he's not quite as good as your A1 top-tier pass catcher, but he makes up for it with his ability to block, which is so important to that particular scheme with that particular team.
Exactly. This is Tim Kawakami, who's been in the Bay Area for basically since the beginning of time. And he's got a piece out in The Athletic where he says, if the Patriots, Steelers, and Browns are theoretically ready to meet Ayuk's price, why is it too high for the 49ers? If the 49ers could have signed Ayuk by going just a little higher in May, why didn't they realize what they'd be risking if they didn't move up one last time? If Ayuk is a disposable asset for the 49ers, can you picture what this offense is going to look like on third down when Brock Purdy is scrambling around and it's Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, or Chris Conley trying to break free from press coverage, not Ayuk? And can you picture what happens if the 49ers try to replace Ayuk with a draft pick in the future, maybe Dante Pettis 2.0 or the next Danny Gray? See, this goes back to the Jets. It's the same thing with the 49ers. There's only one acceptable outcome for San Francisco this year. That is winning a championship. You have to pay your quarterback next year, but this year you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So it would seem to me that you would want to spend big now and deal with the bill later because it's all about this year.
Yeah.
And you and I are different when it comes to Purdy. You think he's an elite quarterback. I don't. I think he's a really good quarterback, but I think he needs as many good players around him as possible to make the offense go, meaning Brock Purdy, if you have to rely on him more to kind of lift everyone else around him, I don't think he can do that. So you need to have guys like, McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk. Now's the time to do it because in the future, once you pay Purdy, you won't be able to have those guys. Why wouldn't you just pay him and go all in? Why are you playing hardball with a guy who's your best receiver on the team and a darn good blocker? It's
Chad, it goes back to our personal philosophy of spending.
yes.
Buy now, pay later.
Buy now, pay later.
Right?
Well, especially when you have the tools to win a championship.
Yeah.
Because here's what it comes down to. You're in the Super Bowl again facing Patrick Mahomes. Who do you want out there to try and score and match the points that you know that guy's going to put up? You need the best.
Yeah.
I don't understand the problem. I don't get these teams. What are you trying to do here? I know you've got to pay all these guys, but don't screw around with someone that can help you get over the top and win a championship. And if you knew that you had a chance to win a title this year, wouldn't it be worth giving Ayuk what he wants? Then you can look to deal him later. Fools.
Yeah, and it's not, this is the NFL where every team is just taking a bath in cash. I mean, they have so much money that you can talk about your budget and your cap and all that other BS.
You can manipulate numbers in the NFL to get a deal done.
And you actually have the money to pay them. It's not like, in some of these sports, these teams don't have the money. They're not making money.
The 49ers are one of the richest teams in the NFL. They're rolling in cash.
Yeah.
Rolling in it.
Yeah.
And a huge brand.
All the NFL teams are so well fixed because they split the national TV money, and it's just enormous sums of money.
Well, this could come back to haunt them if they don't get over the top or get back to the bowl. And they're clearly one of the best rosters in the NFL right now. And they let a few dollars prevent them from having a guy like Ayuk on the roster. Then, so what? They're idiots. When you have a chance to strike, you got to do it when the iron's hot because you may never have a chance like this again where you still have Purdy on a very cheap deal and you've got the defense, you've got McCaffrey, you've got Deebo, you've got all these players, you've got the right coach, your GM is smart. I don't understand it. Sometimes front offices aren't perfect, right? You miscalculate. And you know how it works with big-time players. We're talking about this with, who is the guy? Someone that wanted playing time. There was an NBA player we were just talking about that wanted out or wanted more playing time, and the disrespect was there, and there was frustration. And you end up losing out on a guy because you miscalculate that. The 49ers have miscalculated here with Ayuk.
Yeah, and Chad, sometimes front offices can be so stubborn. It's like they draw a line in the sand and they just won't cross it. And there's no reason to be that way. It's always a negotiation in a contract. Sometimes you figure, you know what, he's gonna take advantage of us a little bit here, but we need him.
Yeah,
what are we gonna do?
The guy I was just thinking about was Klay Thompson. Remember the Warriors? They miscalculated Klay. He felt disrespected, and now he's elsewhere. Now maybe they didn't want him back, and they don't care.
Yeah, that's possible.
That's possible. But Ayuk, and I would make this argument right now, he's more valuable to them than Deebo because he's younger. And if you get the deal done, he's going to be with you for an extended period of time. And then you can start to move on from the older guys on the roster. Ayuk is young. He's productive. You developed him. He's turned out to be a very good player. Those are usually the guys you want to reward. You draft, develop, he produces, reward him.
Mm-hmm.
Don't screw him around because he views himself as one of the best in the game. So he's going to look at the market along with his agent and be like, hey, what are you guys doing here?
I think I agree with you, too, on Deebo because, He's older, and not only that, he's dealt with a lot of injuries. How many more years is he going to be prime?
Exactly.
Diva?
High-level production.
Yeah, maybe he's got one more after. Maybe this year will be the last year he can really give it to you.
Yes.
You know?
And here's the other reason why this could turn out to be a problem. Christian McCaffrey's got a dreaded calf injury.
Yeah.
And it's already been announced that he's not going to participate in the preseason. But we know how these calf injuries work, right? Especially for a running back.
Yeah.
It's a problem now. All it takes is a re-aggravation, and then all of a sudden McCaffrey's out, and then you don't have your bell cow. And then you don't have Brandon Ayuk, and then you got more pressure on Purdy. It could be the perfect storm of bad for the 49ers if McCaffrey's calf becomes more of an issue.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Oh, my gosh, I don't understand. You got to win. You and I have talked about this for years. You never know if you're going to get back. When you've got a chance to strike, you do it and then deal with the mess later.
No, I would have a hard time believing they'll have a better team next year than they have now.
You and I would make the argument, like right now, the Blazers spending huge money and pushing up against the luxury tax number doesn't make sense because you're not in a position to compete.
Yeah, save your money.
But if you're the 49ers trying to pinch pennies in a situation where you're trying to win a championship, you can't have it both. To be a title contender, at some point you gotta spend. Just like Joe Lacob down with the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
He won 4 titles, but he had to pay out of the backside for it.
Yeah.
Luxury tax, the whole deal.
I don't think he's complaining a bit.
No.
For one thing, those championships he won allowed him to charge more money for sponsorships, more money for tickets, more money for local radio and TV rights. All those things, it comes back to you.
Oh, speaking of that, when we talked to Justin Myers, you brought up a good point. He's a season ticket holder with the Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
We got to find out if the pricing went up this year. My guess would be yes.
I think when you're buying a ticket to see Ohio State, it might cost a little more than if you're playing Portland State.
Oh, what's that word they use for it? Dynamic pricing?
Dynamic pricing is a good word, yes.
I don't like that word because that means, in
As
my
a ticket
mind,
buyer, you don't.
No. Ticket buyer, that means you're getting screwed.
Because you want to see the dynamic games.
That's right. Ohio State would be one of them.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. All right. Again, what do I care? I don't like the 49ers. Sorry, Shacker. I'm not trying to bash on your team. I'm just saying that now's not the time to get cheap. The NFL is not entering a recession here.
Yeah, it's like, are you worried about that? You worried that next year the old money machine will shut down?
The NFL's got mad money.
Yeah, their TV contracts are for like decades out, you know? It's like
ironclad.
Yeah.
They're like Fort Knox. They print money. They've got a stash of gold. They got everything.
They got networks waiting in line to give them money, too.
No, they can't. Yeah, you can't get enough because people will watch no matter what. All right, we'll come back. The White Sox, unfortunately, won a game, snapping the Schneid yesterday.
Broke your heart, didn't they?
Leave it to the A's to screw up everything. They can't even get that right. So we'll discuss that, and we'll hear the call on the victory. But also, switch hitters in baseball. Are they a dying breed? I'll ask Godfather about that. Justin Myers will join us at 5:20. Sean Hike and Rose Garden report at 4:20. You got the Rip City Drive.
win for himself. Everybody deserves a win after this streak.
This could do it. Out to left field coming in. Benintendi. And the streak is over. After 21 L's in a row, the White Sox come to the West Coast and get their first win in a long time. Say it with me. Southside, stand up.
Well, that call was terrible.
Yeah.
Say it with me. Southside.
Southside.
With me, Southside, stand up.
I mean, your team just snapped a 21-game losing streak, and that's the best you got?
Time. Say it with me, Southside, stand up.
Nice
Guys
work.
had 3 weeks to practice whatever he was going to say when they finally won a game, and that's all he came up with.
Hey, bro, what are you thinking about hitting for the streak when it's finally over? I was thinking about Southside. Say it with me.
Say it with me, Southside, stand up.
That's terrible. It makes me hate the A's even more, though. They can't even get this right. I wanted Chicago and Jerry Reinsdorf to suffer and break the all-time streak. The 61 Phillies had 23 consecutive losses, which is pretty bad. They were 3 losses away from setting the all-time mark. If you're going to be that bad, then you might as well go out in style, man. Set the record.
Be historic.
Yeah. And don't stop. Don't tie for second. And Reinsdorf can't even get this right, Godfather. But then again, we established yesterday he's 88 years old, the owner of the White Sox. He may not even know that they've lost 21 straight.
Oh, I think somebody's told him by now.
Oh, my goodness.
He's getting pretty bad press in Chicago right now. That's a city you don't want to get bad press in.
Yeah, they're bad, really bad. You told me, though, you said, well, the A's are going to start Stripling, so there's a good chance they might
That's what
screw it
happened,
up.
too.
Yeah. Good job, Stripling.
Yeah.
All right, so talk to me. Why is there a decline of switch hitters in baseball now? What's up with that?
Well, I think part of it, Chad, is it's a difficult thing to do. And a lot of people don't have the patience to do something difficult anymore. Because when you do something hard, you're going to fail. And you're going to fail and fail and fail. And I know from personal experience with coaching kids in baseball, if you take a kid who's been a right-handed hitter all his life and tell him he's ought to try hitting left-handed, he's going to go 0 for 4 the first time he tries it and say, I don't think I want to do that anymore. But the unfortunate thing is you have to fail all season probably from the other side of the plate before you get this down. It takes hundreds and hundreds of swings. And then your swing from the left side is probably going to be different from the swing on the right side because you have a dominant hand. And that hand will do different things as the top hand on the bat or the bottom hand on the bat. So you got to learn to compensate for that or deal with that. You might be a power hitter. In fact, every switch hitter I've ever seen has more power on one side of the plate than on the other. And so you got to deal with that. And all this stuff with kids now, they play a lot of travel ball, and they're out there in front of college coaches, they think. I doubt that they are as much as they think they are. But they want instant success. They can't afford to go 0 for 4. Their dad's paying $5,000 this weekend for them to go to Phoenix for a tournament in the middle of December, and they can't fail. They have to succeed. So they don't want to make outs. They don't want to have a problem, so they don't do it. And so you're seeing much more of that.
That's unfortunate. It would seem to me that there's still value for a guy in your lineup that can hit on either side, right? So when there's a pitching change that's made, no problem. We got the guy that can step in and step to the other side of the plate and get it done.
Yeah, Chad, and the big thing now is the 2 pitches giving hitters the most problems are curveballs. Then you got sliders and sweepers who are variety. That's just a variety of a breaking ball, a curveball. And you have much more success if a guy's right-handed, you should hit left-handed, vice versa. If he's a left-hander, you want to hit right-handed because then the ball's breaking into you rather than away from you. Makes it easier to hit. And so there's a big advantage to being a switch hitter. What people don't understand is switch hitters should get twice as much time in the batting cage. They need equal amounts from the right side and left hand side. Don't try to cut their batting cage stuff in half because they switch hit. That doesn't work either.
And what were you saying the other day that the key reason as to why a right-hander struggles more against a right-handed pitcher or a lefty against a left-handed pitcher? Why is that?
Well, because their curveball, their breaking ball, looks like it's going to hit you. And so as a kid, when you see the first curveball coming at you, man, you're like, you see kids absolutely hit the ground. And then the ball curves over the plate for a strike. And they're not used to seeing that. And as you get older, it's tougher and tougher when a guy's throwing in the 90s and he's throwing those hard sliders at you.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Chad, that's difficult. And then just fear still plays a big factor in hitting in baseball.
What was the pitch, or what did you struggle with when you played baseball?
Well,
aside from everything.
Yeah. Here's the hard truth, and guys I played with will tell you I wasn't a good hitter in high school at all, and that was because I should have lifted weights. I wasn't strong enough as a kid, but at those times they didn't want you to lift weights. They told you it would make you too muscle bound. I couldn't get around on the fastball. I would pray the guy would throw me a curveball. He'd get the fastball by me 2 times in a row, and I think, well, he's got me 0-2. Maybe he'll experiment with a curveball here. And when they did, I could usually hit that. And
Yeah.
I stayed in on the curveball, and I could handle it because it's just about the right speed for my bat speed. But
How much guessing is going on up at the plate?
A lot.
In terms of what you're trying to predict in your mind what the pitcher's going to come with.
well, in the big leagues, a lot more than they let on. They won't tell you they're guessing a lot.
But they're guessing.
But they're guessing because when a guy's throwing as hard as they are, you guess location or you guess the kind of pitch or you guess both. If you're facing Randy Johnson, you got to be thinking, he's going to throw me that hard slider. It's going to be right in on my hands, so I'm going to bail out a little quicker so I have a little more room to hit that and to get the bat around. You have to guess. There's not much choice. But they make educated guesses because they have all the statistics and all the video to look at. They know pretty much what's going to be thrown on a lot of those pitches.
And in some pitchers like Kershaw during his heyday, his windup and delivery of the curveball looked just like the fastball delivery.
Yeah, and he was also deceptive in his windup. It made it harder. And the tall guys, this is the other thing. Randy Johnson, with his stride, he was 6'11". With his stride, instead of 60 feet 6 inches, he's not letting the ball go until about 52 feet. You have no time at all. It's an unbelievable challenge.
All right, to all young hitters out there, good luck based on that description.
It's hard to hit. It's really hard. And whatever advantage you can give yourself, switch hit if you can. Try it.
I mean, golf is really hard, but at least the ball is stationary when you're trying to whack that little thing.
Yeah, put it on a tee. Yeah.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. When we come back, I know everyone's busy trying to convince you that LeBron's the greatest of all time. We're going to hear a story from legendary coach Bob Knight talking about coaching Michael Jordan during the '84 Olympics.
Yes.
You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. All right, what's up, my friends? Now 4 o'clock. Mariners are tied atop the AL West with the Astros after Houston's 6-4 win today over Texas. Seattle will look to bounce back tonight after last night's loss to Detroit. Tigers and Mariners game 2. That first pitch coming up at 6:40 from T-Mobile Park. Kirby gets the call for the Mariners. From college football, Texas, bad news. Lost running back C.J. Baxter for the season due to knee surgery. From the NFL, reigning MVP Lamar Jackson said he felt fat and slow, so he dropped 15 pounds to get ready for the season. Hawks will meet the Chargers Saturday in L.A. for their first preseason game. And that kickoff is at 4:05. Hawks favored by 2. Their offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, says that Geno Smith is, quote, elite. And the NCAA has ordered a 4-year show cause on former Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh for recruiting violations and noted intentional disregard for NCAA rules and regulations. We'll talk with Sean Hike and Rose Garden Report at 4:20. Well, Team USA is cruising right now, Godfather.
Yeah, big surprise.
Not a big surprise. But you acted as if you were concerned that they might have issues, but so far, no issues.
So far, they've been all right, yeah. They just have to keep shooting the ball well and defending. They're defending better than I thought they would, but thanks to a couple key guys who defend all the time, it's really set a tone for them.
Well, that's why it was a good selection to get 2 guys in there like Drew Holiday and then the replacement, Derek White, to come in, and those 2 guys will do whatever you ask.
Yeah.
And they're bulldogs. They're freaks.
Mm-hmm.
I would not want to be a guard handling the basketball with that type of pressure on me.
Oh, yeah.
Turnovers, meltdowns, because they don't stop. They're just like annoying gnats. They're like, can you please just settle down for a moment?
Yeah.
No, that's not how I'm programmed. Sorry.
Really impressive stuff.
Drew Holiday, too. He's not going to jack around out there. That guy's full go at all times. Much respect for him.
He's one of the best all-around players in basketball. No question. He doesn't get the recognition.
And he never will either.
Yeah.
Because he's not walking around trying to tell you how great he is.
Right.
He doesn't care about getting that type of recognition. It doesn't matter to him.
And he doesn't score 25 to 30 points a game. He could, but he doesn't.
And if he did, his wife would be like, what are you doing out there?
Yeah.
You need to settle down.
Yeah.
It helps when you're not the best athlete in the family, right?
Right.
You get someone to keep you in check.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a listen to Bob Knight. I get so tired of hearing about how LeBron this and LeBron that and LeBron's the GOAT and all this nonsense. It makes me sick to my stomach because he's not the GOAT. I've seen enough basketball to know who the GOAT is, and his name is Michael Jordan.
And if you ever saw Michael Jordan play,
you would never say that LeBron's the GOAT.
Of course.
Unless you're paid by Clutch to say that he's the GOAT.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you grew up with MJ and then you had a chance to watch LeBron's entire career, I don't see how you could come up with that conclusion.
No, it's not even. I mean, I laugh when I mean, you wouldn't even ponder it for a second.
No, I love Kobe as much as just about anyone. And I think Kobe's the closest thing I've seen to MJ because he literally tried to copy everything that he did successfully, by the way. And he's not MJ.
No.
And Kobe was a darn good basketball player. But Bob Knight, and I feel, I wish that Bob Knight wasn't, I wish there wasn't the dark side to Knight because that
the
tarnishes.
Dark Side to Night.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
You like that?
Yeah. Nice.
I'm a poet and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
He's such a great he was such a great basketball coach.
Yeah.
I mean, literally one of the greatest minds of all time when it came to the game, but his dark side.
He was abrasive.
He was abrasive and he was a bully.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because that's how people remember him. So they forget sometimes about how great of a coach he was, but he was a legend. And he coached the Team USA in '84 when they had MJ. You want to hear a story from Bob Knight talking about MJ's greatness?
Yeah.
All right. The audio is, it sounds like it's from 1984, but take a listen to this.
After the first half of our game with Spain in 1984 for the gold medal, we're ahead by 29 points. We've played basketball as well as the game can be played. Michael Jordan has played 12 minutes out of the 20. he has 11 rebounds, 9 assists, and 19 points in 12 minutes. In my opinion, there's nobody that's ever played anything that can compare to Michael Jordan, with the possible exception of Jack Nicklaus and Babe Ruth. Michael Jordan is just the best there ever was at what he does by a considerable margin. So I'm walking across the floor with this 29-point lead as I look at the scoreboard, and I'm a great believer in the best 3 minutes of the game for us has got to be the first 3 minutes of the second half. But what the hell am I going to say? Hey, we got to get better. We're 29 points ahead. We got to win by 59. These kids are going to be a little bit satisfied with themselves. They know how well they've played. And when I get to the locker room, I still haven't come up with an answer. I open the door, and the first guy I see is Jordan sitting in front of his locker. Idea light flashes. I say to myself, I'm going to get on Jordan's ass a little bit. And everybody else is going to say, God, if he's upset with Jordan, how's he feel about me? 12 minutes, 19 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, and I have the stat sheet in my hand, and I walk over in front of Jordan, and I look down at him, and I say, Mike, when the hell are you going to set a screen? We got 4 guys out there screening when you're in the game, screening to get you open, screening to get each other open. Haven't seen you set a screen yet. The only way I get all 5 guys screening, Mike, is to get you the hell out of the game. Now, when are you going to set a screen? All you've been doing so far, goddammit, is rebounding, passing, and scoring. You need to screen, Mike. Now, Jordan, you've all seen the grin. I mean, it's the greatest grin in the world. Doesn't quite use all of his grin in this circumstance, but he looks up at me and he grins a little bit and he says, Coach, didn't I see last week where you said I was the quickest player you'd ever been around? And I said, Mike, what the hell has that got to do with you screening? Coach, I think I'm setting them quicker than you can see them out there. Well, I was flexible enough to look at Jordan and say, then, God damn it, slow him down a little bit so I can see him.
All right, there you go. Bob Knight with a great Michael Jordan story.
Classic. He's an all-time storyteller, too.
What I really like about those comments there is that Bob Knight is not someone who's just going to be quick to heap praise on top of a player.
Oh, gosh, no.
And MJ doesn't care whether Bob Knight heaps praise on top of him. He just wants his respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what MJ cares about. And if you can go in there and earn the respect of one of the hardest coaches of all time, to where he said, quote, Michael Jordan is the best there ever was, end of story.
Yeah, by a large margin.
By a large margin. And this is Bob Knight, who's seen everything that basketball has to offer. Everything. And he compared him to Jack Nicholson.
No, Jack Nicklaus.
Oh, Nicklaus, who's got the all-time majors mark in golf.
Yeah.
And then the other one was Babe Ruth, who's arguably the greatest baseball player of all time.
Yeah.
That's pretty elite company right there.
Yeah. LeBron would have profited from being coached by somebody like Bob Knight, who wouldn't have been at all impressed with anything he's ever done. It would have been get back, play defense, play hard, share the ball. And he would have heard that until he did it. And he wouldn't have liked it. He wouldn't have liked playing for him. But I think he would have imbued him with some of the fundamentals that he kind of skipped through along the way.
Do you think LeBron recognizes the benefit of having played for Pat Riley and being coached by Eric Spoelstra? Or was Spoelstra too young in his NBA coaching career to really be the guy that he is now?
That's a great question. You would hope that he appreciated that, but I do know that he tried to get Spoelstra fired. He went upstairs to Riley and tried to get him to fire him, which was just about the dumbest thing a guy could ever do. That's a guy who doesn't have any understanding at all of what's going on in Miami, and he'd been there long enough to understand that Pat Riley wasn't going to change anything because some player came up and knocked on his door and wanted him to switch coaches.
Well, you know the story. I mean, Phil Jackson, when he took over for Doug Collins in Chicago, Phil Jackson didn't have a big name. No one knew who he was. He got the job. Krause was a big fan. And Phil had to convince Michael that, hey, this is the way we're going to do things now, and you have to involve your teammates.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
If you want to win. And it wasn't easy, and Jordan bristled against that. But through that type of hard coaching and teaching, he eventually got Jordan to accept the way that the triangle offense was going to run and the way it needed to be run to work as a team, as a unit, to win titles. And he embraced it.
And more, he learned to trust his teammates, which proved to be a turning point in his career, I think.
Yeah, meaning if Steve Kerr or John Paxson or Scottie Pippen had to step up in a big moment to take a shot, he was cool with it. He learned. He became a better player because of that type of coaching.
But he was also all about winning. That's what he was about.
Yes, and unfortunately, and I've said this before, but in sports, we want to believe that our favorite players are about one thing and one thing only, winning. That's not always the case.
No, it's not.
Priorities are different for every athlete. Some care about winning more than anything. That's why I respected John Elway so much. He was frustrated for years playing for Dan Reeves because in that offense and the way Reeves did it, he didn't put up the type of numbers that Jim Kelly or Dan Marino did or Joe Montana. And because of that, he was looked at as kind of in that next tier down, right? But they were winning a lot of football games, and therefore he was like, we're winning. We're going to Super Bowls. I've got a chance to get the championship. That's what I want more than anything. So he went with it. And that's, what more can you want?
Yeah.
It's like this, I'm not going to get the personal accolades that I desire, but more importantly, we're going to win as a unit, as a team, and I care more about that. That's what you want from your guys.
You know, Chad, it's one of the first things I learned as a sports writer, going into locker rooms after games. I would see a team, and I always identify with fans because I grew up a fan of whatever team. And I could identify with the way fans felt. I would see a team lose a game that was just a brutal loss. And I would see those poor fans trickling out of the arena or the stadium just feeling so bad and in tears in some cases. Then I walk into the locker room and it's, hey, where are we going? Where are we going to eat? Let's stop it. Hey, did you see that? Whatever, nice looking girl in the third row, whatever, where are we going? Let's play some poker. What they leave it behind in the locker room. You cared more than they cared on this given night. Yeah, they want to win titles, all that stuff. They're professionals. They play this game all the time. You cared more about that game than they did.
That's why the games,
so many times,
and they're not common, but that's why I love the games where you have those moments where the players on the floor care just as much as you do, and it means something. Yeah. Those are the best moments in sports because a loss is going to be devastating for everyone involved.
Yeah. And
the higher the stakes, the better it is. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We'll come back and we'll check in with Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report. Will Joe Cronin be able to take advantage of the Lakers by remaining patient? We'll find out next. All right, joining us right now from the Rose Garden Report, he's on X at Hyken. Sean Hyken is back on the Rip City Drive. Sean, good afternoon. Thanks for the time, buddy.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Very well. Let's start with this. What's your read on the situation with the Lakers right now where they have yet to make any type of significant move after re-signing LeBron? We know that they've got a couple of draft picks that could be moved out. Do you think the Blazers or possibly other teams are in a good position to remain patient to where they eventually will look to make a move? How do you read that?
Well, from the Blazers' end, I think they would, if they're going to do a deal, and obviously Jeremy Grant is the name that, as it's connected to the Lakers, has kind of been out there for most of the offseason. I think a lot of teams, I mean, the Blazers are certainly among them, but teams are looking at the Lakers and saying, hey, you guys have this window with LeBron and Anthony Davis for, as long as those guys are playing at the level that they're playing. Are you going to make an upgrade or not? And if you are, we'd like both first-round picks. So I think that's why you haven't seen, whether it's Jeremy Grant or, other guys that have been kind of thrown out there, like Kyle Kuzma from Washington is another one that the Lakers have been connected to at different points throughout the offseason. But, yeah, there's no reason for these teams, including Portland, to not just wait the Lakers out among, any other team, because, at some point, either these teams are going to get desperate and offer up both first-round picks, which – would be the ideal scenario for a team like Portland, or, somebody else will.
Sean, how do you think it plays into this now that Jeremy Grant is a Clutch client? Do you think that matters at all?
Well, he was a Clutch client. I mean, the switch over to Clutch actually happened over a year ago. It was Clutch that did his contract with the Blazers for 5 years, $160 million back last offseason. I think, but what happened there, it wasn't like he left his agency and went to Clutch. He was with a smaller agency that got bought up by Clutch, which is the same thing that happened with Shaedon Sharpe a couple months ago. This one was kind of under the radar, but Shaedon was with a smaller agency that reps a lot of the Canadian guys, and Clutch kind of swallowed them up too. But I don't think the Clutch – I mean, I think Clutch, because of the Laker ties, I think Clutch would very much not be opposed to the idea of Jeremy Grant being LeBron's help in L.A., but that doesn't mean the Blazers have to send him there if they don't get the price that they want.
What do you think that price is? Ideally, what do you think Cronin wants to get in return for a player of Grant's caliber?
They want both of the Lakers' first-round picks, and I would imagine that's the price from any other team, too. And it's kind of slow right now because right now you're seeing kind of the ripple effects of the new CBA where teams are not really as willing to give up a bunch of first-round picks for guys because, having that cheap, cost-controlled talent with how restrictive things are kind of at the top of the luxury tax and salary thresholds with all the different rules that restrict all this different stuff. Like, those picks have become much more valuable, and so teams are kind of still trying to figure out how much they're willing to give up for, a guy like Jeremy Grant, who obviously isn't like a franchise-level player and is the kind of guy who maybe a couple of years ago would have easily gone for 2 first-round picks. Teams are kind of still adjusting to that. But as of right now, that's what the asking price is, and that's what they're hoping to get, I think, if they do move him.
Sean, I'm curious about, the Blazers, I'm sure, can sit back and say, hey, we don't have to trade him. We can be as patient about this as we want. We can outlast the Lakers. But I wonder, at some point, they have to trade somebody, don't they? I mean, we had talked before about Simons or Grant or somebody, for a variety of reasons, but they need to trim it down a little bit, right?
Well, the one that I think they really had to do this summer was Malcolm Brogdon, and they took care of that pretty early in the offseason with the deal that they made on draft night to bring in Danny Avdija. That not only was, because of Malcolm Brogdon's contract situation, him going to the last year of his deal, was, the most urgent guy for them to move before they lost him for nothing, but that also got them under the luxury tax line, where they kind of always were going to get under the luxury tax before the start of the season. But that was kind of the most urgent one for them to make. Now, I guess going forward, you have to decide. I mean, the Jeremy thing, they really don't have to do anything now if they don't want to. He's under contract for 4 more years, so they can, wait to get the offer that they that they like, whether that's now or at the deadline or even next offseason, they could do that. The Anthony Simons thing is going to be a little bit more interesting to monitor just because he has 2 years left on his deal. So next summer, they're going to be, if he's still here next summer, then he'll be, an expiring deal, and then that might impact his value. And that would I don't think they're in like a huge rush to move him right now either. I think that's one they could string out till the deadline or next offseason too. But I think, it's at some point they're going to have to probably move all of these guys at some point, within the next year or two. But I know it's been put out there other places that it's their goal to move one of those two guys before the start of training camp. I haven't gotten that sense at all that they're in that kind of a rush and that they would be perfectly comfortable taking this to the deadline or to next offseason if they need to.
But, Sean, if they keep all these guys, they're going to win too many games, aren't they?
How many games did they win last year with all these guys?
Too many. Too many to get the bottom three of the draft picks. And I think they got to go all in on this, don't you think?
I don't think there's one thing you need. One thing that this organization and this front office under the current front office regime has proven that they're very good at is losing the amount of games they need to lose in order to get to where they need to get to in the lottery standings. Like I wouldn't be worried about, Jeremy Grant is still on the roster, they're going to win too many games. Like they won 21 games last year. Like they're going to figure out how to lose however many games they need to lose.
Do you think it would be ideal if they're in the bottom three of the lottery?
Certainly it would be just because then you have a 14% chance of getting the number one overall pick and getting Cooper Flagg, who is supposed to be, if that happens and he's as good as he's supposed to be, then that's, that could potentially be a game changer, and that, makes this whole rebuild go in a completely different direction and maybe get pushed forward. But so, yeah, you want your odds to be as high as possible for that. But I don't think they're going to have much trouble losing games if they need to this year.
Well, I think that's really, in the simplest of forms, Sean, the way Dwight and I look at it is they need to get into the bottom three because you want to have a 14% chance of Cooper Flagg. But when you look at Simons and Grant and Ayton and the rest of the veterans that are on the roster, we're just concerned that those guys are a little bit too good, and you have a coach that may want to win games, and he'll play those guys more minutes than what you might want if you're looking to get Cooper Flagg. That's what we're concerned about. Does that make sense?
I hear you. I also would tell you that you look at where they're going to be playing most of their games. Like who are the teams that are really in the mix to, as it sits right now, and we're recording this a day after the Jazz signed Lauri Markkanen into that extension, so they're not going to trade him and totally bottom out. So even put them to the side for a little bit. But the
Brooklyn
teams that
Portland,
I think
right? Brooklyn and Portland,
Brooklyn, Washington, maybe Detroit. Those teams are all in the East. So Portland pretty much is the only team in the West right now that you go into the season as we sit here today on August 7th and say they're definitely trying to get as high up in the lottery as possible. And they're going to be playing most of their games against the other 14 teams in the Western Conference, all of whom as of right now are trying to win. So I don't know. There's a lot of things you can be kind of concerned about going into this season when it comes to, the fit and, how they're going to divide up minutes and all this other kind of stuff. But whether they're going to be able to lose enough games is not something I'm really worried about right now for them.
Hey, what's your take on Scoot signing with Clutch?
Guys change agents all the time. I don't think that's really anything to it's actually really funny. Like whenever that kind of thing gets reported, like the word clutch and like Rich Paul, like that just like brings these reactions out of people. And I guess because he's LeBron's guy, and I guess for whatever reason, but a lot of NBA players sign with Clutch, and it doesn't really, I'll put it this way. Right now, as of right now, Scoot is not good enough for it to matter who his agent is. Like if we're talking about it in 3 years when he's up for a new contract, and they're haggling over whether to give him, the max or anything close to the max, that means Scoot has been good enough for that to be a conversation.
A good problem.
Which that would, I think the Blazers would love it if they had to go into a hard negotiation with Clutch over Scoot Henderson because he's been so good that they, have to actually, have that negotiation. Right now, I think it's just, and the other thing with Scoot is his agency situation before this was kind of nebulous. He was his family does a lot of his, business stuff and some of it, some of that kind of stuff in-house. And so he didn't really have a front-facing agent the way that the way that a lot of guys at his level, especially guys that are drafted as high as he was, do. And now he's with an actual, professional, reputable agency. Like, I mean, it's a move that made sense from his end, but from the Blazers' end, A, they're a long time away from having to worry about his next contract or anything like that, or B, he needs to be a lot better for that to matter.
Curious what you think about this, Sean. We've always been told that Jody Allen was waiting to put the team out there on the market for the TV deals to get done. Well, the TV deals they're done. And basically, I'm wondering if you think now we might hear some rumblings about the team being up for sale.
I don't think in the next couple of years anything's really going to change from that. And the TV deal was one of the things that they were waiting to get resolved. There's a couple of other things. One of them is expansion, which is coming in the next couple of years. They're going to add 2 teams, and I'm almost positive it's going to be Seattle and Las Vegas that are going to be the next 2 teams. Each of those teams is going to have at least probably $5 or $6 billion buy-in fee from the new owner for an expansion fee.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. I've heard 7. Yeah.
Well, it could be 7. It could be 7, but either point being, that's a lot of money that's then going to get divided up between the existing owners. So, you hang around another couple of years, you can get in on that. And then the other thing that's kind of being hammered out right now, we just saw earlier this week it was earlier this week. The city council officially approved the bridge agreement for a 5-year extension of the Moda Center lease that was agreed to back in February, and now they're going to, over the next year or so, they're going to work on a new long-term lease for the arena, which, is going to include some of the stuff about the renovations that they're working on, and, however long of a time that's going to be, another, 20 years or something, to keep to have the arena situation settled. And I think ownership kind of wants to maybe not jump ship in the middle of that process. So between, the lease negotiations, however long that takes, which could be a year or two, because these things always take a while, and then the expansion thing, which is going to be a lot of new money coming into the league. Like the TV deal that just got done was one of the things that was going to be one of the factors that moved things forward as far as a sale timeline, but it wasn't the only thing. So I wouldn't expect anything to change on that front in the next couple of years as it relates to the Blazers.
You think signing that lease would help them sell the team or hurt them selling the team? Because what I've heard is some of the people who are interested in buying the team, they don't want to move it out of Portland, but they would love to get out of the Moda Center.
Well, I mean, and then you have to deal with are you going to get the city to pay for a new arena? Are you going to build a new arena yourself? Are you going to, find a place to build a new arena? Are you going to
that's the whole thing, Sean, is that they would want to go to the suburbs, and you would find that there's a lot of the communities in the suburbs would be happy to write them a check.
Well, I haven't heard anything about whether that's anything that they're considering. I know there's language in this lease that if the Moda Center ever at any point over the course of their lease is not is not where the Blazers play, then the ownership is going to have to pay back however much money from the fund that the city is giving, from the ticket revenue and the parking revenue towards the renovations, which is part of the agreement. But they'd have to give some of that back, and that's something that's something that Jody wanted to put in there, from what I was told, basically as protection against the team ever, being sold to somebody and then moving out of Portland.
Right.
So, that's something. This is all just like, I think the plan I've heard is that the lease is going to get done in the next couple of years, the long-term lease. So I don't know how much, unless, they get bought by somebody who just has all the, like somebody with like Jeff Bezos level money who can just write whatever check he wants and can, get them out of that stuff. I mean, I suppose anything is possible, but my understanding is that once they get these renovations done, and, the team has also talked about, being committed to this project in, redeveloping that area around the arena and trying to turn it into a whole entertainment district, like what Milwaukee has with the Deer District around the Fiserv Forum. Like, that's kind of more what they're thinking right now, as opposed to trying to get a new arena in the suburbs.
Hey, Sean, final question for you. We're talking with Sean Hike and Rose Garden Report here on the Rip City Drive. When do you expect that we'll hear something from the Trailblazers in regards to their TV situation locally?
I don't have an exact timeline, but I think pretty soon we'll be hearing something about that. Like
maybe around the schedule when it drops?
Yes, maybe like roughly around give or take, because I think the schedule's coming out next week. Like that's I think, you know, if you know, last year and the year before surge, it's usually the second or third week of August that the schedule for the season comes out. So I think next week is when the schedule is supposed to come out. And yeah, I'm sure the team, if they have all the legal stuff kind of figured out and, you know, all the contracts signed and all that, I'm sure they would love to have some announcement around then. But
it could be
just from reading
potentially it could be good news for Blazer fans, right?
I would expect it to be good news for Blazer fans, just from what, you know, just reading the tea leaves. Obviously, all the details I think are still being hammered out, but just from reading the tea leaves, it sounds like the Blazers are very interested in doing something similar to what, you know, Phoenix did, where they ditched Bally Sports and are going over the air, and then the New Orleans Pelicans just yesterday announced that they were doing the same thing. Like, I think the Blazers, if they can get the money stuff and the legal stuff figured out, that's something I think they would love to do. And just reading the tea leaves, it seems like things are kind of headed in that direction, but I don't know the full timeline or details or, you know, when it's going to get figured out or if it's fully figured out. But if I had to guess, I think that's the direction that things are headed in.
All right, perfect. Sean Highkin, rosegardenreport.com, on X at Highkin. Hey, Sean, we appreciate it, buddy. Enjoy your week, and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, that could potentially be great news, Godfather. That, you know, based on what Sean is saying and what I've heard, I would expect the Blazers to make an announcement in the very near future that they're going to go direct over-the-air broadcast, which means people will be able to access their games. That's good. Definitely a good thing.
Well, it would have been better if they were accessing those games during a 50-win season than this season, but the games for free on your over-the-air television is always a good thing.
I mean, I can only go off of the interaction that I had from Trailblazer fans last season, aside from on the court, aside from Chauncey Billups. The biggest complaint that I got from Trailblazer fans that I hear from was the TV situation.
Root Sports was a big mistake.
Root Sports went with that curveball. You were talking about hitting off-speed pitches. They threw the curveball in there right before the beginning of the season about that upper-tier sports package that you had to pay more for to get Blazer games.
Yeah, that was basically Comcast that did that.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, they dicked them. For lack of a better term, I don't even know if I could say that.
A little late to say that now, isn't it?
It was a Richard move. Let's just put it that way.
It was Richard. Yeah, Richard written all over it.
They gave a lot of people some Richard when it came to that. It was unfortunate. And Blazer fans were ticked off because it's like, where do I get the games? I got to pay how much? And then people are like, I'm out. They're either like, I'm not going to watch or I'm going to go to alternate forms of game access.
Right.
Oh, by the way, I struck too late on the DirecTV deal. I was looking at my credit card statement. I got hit with the $449 charge for NFL ticket.
They've already charged you for it?
Yeah, they do it in August. I thought it was going to be later in August. So I was about to hit the cancel, and I was going to go with alternate access.
I better take a look at that, too.
I got Richard on that one, too. Yeah. A lot of Richard going around here, Godfather.
Whew. Not good.
Now, wait a second. You want me to pay more for your premium sports package to watch a 21 team? And I got your package right here. That's exactly what they're thinking, man. It's amazing how many different entities find ways into my wallet and your wallet and everyone else's wallet.
It's incredible. Yeah.
And I don't get any courtesy anything out of that. No reach arounds, no nothing.
Arounds?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I should get something out of that, right? No boobies, no nothing, man. It's just irritating, Godfather. All right. Well, at least I get to watch Bo Nix play quarterback for the Broncos for the mere sum of $449.
Oh, my gosh. Great deal.
This is a great song. Thanks, Shacker. Give me some volume on that. All right, Godfather. Yesterday, we talked about Pitbull, the artist,
Yes.
is going to officially become an ambassador for the university, FIU, and he's going to pay them $1.2 million annually over the next 5 years for naming rights to the stadium. So it's going to be Pitbull Stadium at FIU. And I laughed about it because it feels like a very LeBron thing to me.
I think it is.
But what I'm asking, or what I want to know, is like how much benefit? I mean, ultimately, for him to get name recognition, to have that out there all the time, do you think there's real benefit to an artist who basically works for himself to have his name out there on the stadium? How do you see that?
I don't see that particular facet of it with his name out there doing him any good at all. The one thing that is also included, he gets that stadium for concerts. I think it said there's a certain amount of times that he gets to use it. And I'm assuming he's going to set up a schedule where he has a concert there like once a month through the summer, or, well, they're in Florida, so it doesn't have to be in the summer. It can be year round. He can do outdoor concerts. So that might be a big deal to him, depending on how much money he's going to make off those concerts.
Well, according to the data that you sent over, in addition to the 5 years, $1.2 million annually, he will also get the use of the stadium 10 times per year, and we'll have 2 suites at every home game. So basically, that's like free access to come in and set up shop and do whatever you want. I guess put on shows, right?
That's what I'm thinking. You know, the funny thing is, with concerts being with what they are and what he's charging for tickets, probably, because he's a big thing. In Florida, he's huge.
So he won't have to pay to put on a concert.
No, and what I'm thinking is he might make more off the concerts than he's paying for the naming rights.
Well,
this guy might be a lot smarter than he looks.
Well, if that is the case, and he's going to get paid without having to put down a dime for use of the stadium, you put on 10 events and you get to keep all the revenue.
That's a lot of money.
Oh.
How much do these guys make? You know about that. Like the Eagles. Well, he's not the Eagles, but I mean, let's just say a venue that seats 25 to 30,000 people for a concert.
I mean,
that's a
I've done the
$1
math
million
on
deal,
it.
isn't
Yeah.
that?
Oh, it's multi-millions. So if you have a 20,000 seat stadium or arena like, let's say, Moda Center, and what do you think a good average ticket price is? Probably, say, $200, and just keep it low. That's $4 million.
Yeah, and in a stadium, they might average that because you're going to have some real cheap seats that you can only charge $50.
But if you do, let's just say he's making $4 million a show, which might be a little bit high. Let's just knock it down to $2 million just to keep it safe.
How's he doing with that deal?
Times 10, that's $20 million minus the staff and the stuff you got to pay out.
Right.
Yeah, he's making profit. In fact, he might cover he's going to cover the cost of his 5-year naming rights deal in one season of putting on 10 shows there at the stadium. So I need to retract everything I said about it being LeBronish because this is actually a pretty good move.
He's a good businessman, it sounds like.
Well, what I'm wondering now is he setting kind of the groundwork for other artists or other people who need to sell their name? Is he putting together a system to where someone else might step up and say, you know what? I want to do that.
And I'm thinking, too, for the school, it's not as bad a deal as you might think because they're sitting there thinking, we get his concerts that many times a year. We get the concessions, we get the parking, we get all the ancillary things, and we'll make a deal where he has to pay for security, he has to pay for whatever. They'll make out just fine off those concerts, too.
Well, if you're Taylor Swift, why not set up a naming rights deal for a big arena? Call it the Swift Arena, and you put on X amount of shows there per year. You pay your naming rights deal. People will come by just to see the arena with your name on it.
Yeah.
And then when you put on those shows and you make many millions of dollars, you get to collect it without paying out the cost of running the arena.
Then on those days where there aren't concerts, you set up your tours of the arena, like your tour of Yankee Stadium. You get people to pay $100 to take the tour, and you take them right into her private dressing room. Oh, here's some of her dresses hanging here.
People
blah,
would
blah,
absolutely, they would pay
blah.
for that.
God, would they ever? I think we just set up a whole new fixture for people with arenas. And you wonder why people nowadays would build their own arenas, which they're finally waking up to the idea of going out, you know.
How much does it cost? If you wanted to put on a show, how much does the Moda Center charge to put on an act? For an act to come in and put on a concert? I wonder how much that price is.
I think it depends on who you are. Like the Eagles can come in and they get everything their way because they're such a big deal. But if you want to book an average band, you probably get some of those contract terms in your favor. So I don't know. The one thing you live off when you're that arena, you need to book it almost every night to make money. So you have to have those concessions, the parking fees. You got to get that as often as you can.
Well, this is what I'm looking up here on PureSpace. It says the largest scale venues, namely arenas, which hold tens of thousands of people, can be rented for roughly $20,000 a night. That seems like a pretty low price.
If you're selling tickets for what these guys are, premier acts are getting huge money for tickets now.
And of course, for artists, that you got to pay all the different people involved in putting on a show. Your band, the crew to set up the stage. Like, there's a lot of costs involved in that.
Sound guys, light guys. You have to have, these stages are so extravagant now, you need a crew to come in and install all that.
But think about this. I didn't know it already worked because I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, you know now, though, right?
I know who Pitbull is now. Now, we played some of his music, which I had heard before. I just didn't know it was Pitbull.
Right.
So it's already working. I know who he is now because he decided to put his name on the side of a stadium.
Mm-hmm. So it's not a dumb deal.
No. All right, so I retract what I said about Pitbull. It's not LeBronish because it's a smart move.
I never, until today, when I saw how many events or how many days he got that arena, how many times, I thought, well, what's he going to do with that? Well, he's going to have concerts. Maybe sometimes it's not even him. Maybe he'll book other artists in there some of those
and charge
times.
them a price to go in there.
Yeah, exactly. He double dips.
All right, Pitbull knows what he's doing. That's pretty smart. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive.
Pitbull in the world.
Yeah. Justin Myers is going to join us coming up at 5:20. We got to talk about Sean Payton when we come back. And then Ryan Grubb, well, he's saying some crazy stuff in regards to the Seahawks, so we'll get to that as well. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Hey, what's going on? 5 o'clock. Chad here. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday afternoon. We'll start with the NFL. Lamar Jackson, the MVP, said he felt, quote, fat and slow. Sure didn't look it. He dropped 15 pounds to get ready for this season. Seattle will take on the L.A. Chargers Saturday in L.A. Kickoff at 4:05. The Hawks favored by 2. That's their first preseason game. The NCAA has ordered a 4-year show cause on former Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh for recruiting violations and noted intentional disregard for NCAA rules and regulations. The Mariners are tied atop the AL West after the Astros win over Texas today. Seattle will look to bounce back tonight. They lost to Detroit last night. Tigers and Mariners game 2 of that set, 6:40 tonight at T-Mobile Park. Kirby will get the call for the M's. Justin Myers is going to join Dwight Knight coming up at 5:20. This is Loverboy, Shacker? Yeah, I think this is Loverboy. Hey, when is your concert to see the Foo Fighters? Is that this week or next week?
Next week. Yeah, Friday.
How long has it been since you've seen them?
Gosh, Chad. Dave Grohl had his leg in a cast the last time I saw him. That's a long time ago at Moda Center.
He was in a cast, Dave Grohl?
Yeah, his leg, they put him on like a throne. And it was movable because he used one of those stages where there was like a bridge out to a separate stage in the middle of the arena.
I like that.
I think he's still doing that. But at the time, they had to have this chair move him out there. But it was a great one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about this one, it starts at 5:30. Now, a guy told me.
Wait a second, 5:30 concert?
Yeah. Well, noise regulations in the neighborhood.
Oh, that's right, because it's outdoor.
Yeah, it's an outdoor concert. Everybody said, well, the noise thing. But then I heard from somebody who's supposed to go to work there as a usher or a ticket taker or something, and he said, they've already told us it could go to midnight.
Oh.
And I thought, now, wait a second. It's starting at 5:30. Nobody's doing a concert that long unless he's got 2 or 3 bands opening for him.
Well, there must be opening acts.
Yeah,
There's no
of
way
course.
Dave Grohl is going to go on at freaking 5:30
No,
in the
and
afternoon.
he's usually a 2-hour guy. He's not a 3-hour guy.
That's okay. 2 hours.
Yeah, no,
that's fully
fine.
acceptable.
No, I expect 3 hours only out of like
major bands. You can be
Eagles.
a 3-hour band or guy. I'm cool with that, or lady. You can be a 2.5-hour band or whoever. I'm cool with that. 2 hours, fine. You start dipping below 2 hours, and I'm out.
That's the bottom line. 2 hours. If you go in, especially when you're getting big money for tickets. So I don't know what's going on. I got to get on the internet and check and see who's opening for him on this tour.
Yeah, if you charge me more than $100 to come and see you, and you go for less than 2 hours, I'm instantly mad at you.
Yeah,
that's just how I am. I'm sorry, but these bands, see what's happened is that they're like NBA players now. They're like, wait, we can still get paid the same and load manage.
Yeah,
they're getting over.
Yeah,
it's laziness. I don't stand for it. It's like, dude, you're getting paid millions to come out and perform music in front of a crowd, and that's the best you got for me tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to believe it. I don't accept it. It's just, it drives me bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. The shortest show I've seen the Eagles put on was 2 hours. That's it. That was the shortest. They played 21 songs. Okay.
Hey.
I'm okay with that.
They do better than that most nights. Though.
Yeah. This was a special series they were doing down in Vegas like 12 years ago. So I knew going in what it was going to be all about, and I'm okay with that. But you give me a 90-minute. If you're Chicago, I've talked about it before. Don't get me started. If you have a catalog a mile deep with 1 billion songs that majority are hits, and you play a 90-minute set list with some type of bad, like medley mixed in there, forget you. Or like Janet Jackson. Shacker went to the Janet Jackson show recently here.
Yeah.
And I love her, and she's great, and she's got a ton of great songs. What she did is she played all of her songs, but they were shortened versions. Like a tease job, you know? Like, come on, Janet.
Yeah, that's like the ones that play the medley. Here's my greatest hits in like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
you know?
Chicago did that where they played like 5 songs all mixed into one, but it was the length of like one song. I'm sorry, but I'm not cool with that.
And then spend an hour playing. Here's the stuff from our new album, which nobody cares about.
That's like, I can guarantee you the majority of your audience will be offended because no one cares about your new stuff, man. No offense. No offense. I know you want to play it and you care about it, but no one cares about it. That's why the good bands, even though they probably get irritated because they would like to play something different from time to time, they realize, okay, people are not, they're coming to us for this. So we got to deliver. You have to deliver or people are going to jump on you. All right. Speaking of music, let's take a listen to Sean Payton talking about camp and doing some things to help families and stuff. Do you like Sean Payton? How does he come across to you?
I always liked him
Yeah.
for some reason.
He scares me like Bobby Knight, but
He's not going to throw a chair at you.
you know, these coaches who are smart and you know they're in control, there's a certain level of intimidation they carry. Like certain guys, Jerry Sloan, Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, Sean Payton, Bill Parcells.
They can jump down your throat at any minute.
Yeah, you just don't know what to expect. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to play over here and keep it easy. Let's listen to Sean.
Listen, you can't even, every once in a while something happens and you just think, man, divine intervention. But last week, Kenny Chesney was here to play at our stadium, and we've known each other 22 years. We started going back, it was New York really, in 2002 that we first met. But I hadn't seen him, I think, since 2018, partly because of COVID and schedules. So he was out here, and you know, he's one of those guys. I mean, shoot, to be doing what he's doing 24 years later, he works out every day. So he uses the workout facilities at all these places, and it's not often, you know, artists are going into stadiums. It's easy to say we're going to do an arena show, but he was at our stadium, and the second day, Saturday morning, the show was that night. He said, hey, when we get to Boys of Fall, I'm going to do that late in the show. Why don't you come on stage? We'll autograph a helmet and we'll find a young child to give it to. And I was like, you know, you can't say no to that, as long as you're not asking me to sing or anything. So sure enough, we get to that part of the evening, and he's kind of winding down with the song. He nods his head, and we go out and sign a helmet. Now I'm like, how is he going to decide like what child to pick here? Because I mean, there's so many, you know, there's 57,000 people at the concert, and they're all in the front area, and he identifies a girl. Her name's Olivia, and she happens to be, I think, from the Virgin Islands, but he didn't know her, and we lifted her up, and he actually put the helmet on her, and she was like so excited. And then a day later, he texted me, and he told me the story. This is a girl who's been cancer-free now for the better part of a few years, but she overcame cancer. And what are the odds that that's the one person he picked? And it was just one of those things that just makes you appreciate the power of something like that, of what he does, or the power of our players signing autographs. We had a bunch of children here from Children's Hospital today. It's so important, and I mean, you can't make that up. It was pretty powerful. I remember just talking to him about it the next day, and I'm like, you're kidding me, because there were 15, 20 different children maybe in that area. And anyway, so good story, feel good story, right?
There you go, Sean Payton. I love that.
Yeah, I do too. And it's amazing how often these coaches get to know celebrities.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It just works out. And he's right. Those guys come into town. A lot of them are workout guys, and they want to use your facilities. I heard for years about certain people coming into Moda Center and were impressed by, you know, cold tub, hot tub. And they turn everything over to them. Hey, yeah, you want to do here? We got a sauna if you want it, whatever you want to use. And it's cool.
I wonder if Cher wanted to use the workout facility before her show at Moda. Hey, do you need a trainer? I can help with that.
Personal training.
Hey, here's what I'm talking about. Chris in Newburgh just sent me a text. Hey, Chad, I saw ZZ Top in '86 at the Memorial Coliseum. They played for 55 minutes. Not cool.
Yeah. They don't do long shows. And they didn't for the last several years because they were getting old, and I think that had something to do with it.
That would drive me insane.
Yeah, I've seen them 2 or 3 times. I don't know that they ever got past maybe an hour and 10 minutes.
Nice work.
Yeah.
I'm real proud of your beards. Now, can you play longer than an hour, you morons? Your beards are longer than your concerts, you clowns. That's disrespectful, man. To do your fans that way? Like, it would, first of all, if I were an artist, it would amaze me that I have fans to begin with. Number two, to just disregard your fans and play for 55 minutes, I feel like you're getting over there. And that's 86, so they weren't like old. They weren't like decrepit back in 86. You know, come on, man. What are we doing here?
2 of them had beards. The drummer never had a beard. Know what his name was?
No.
Beard.
Are you kidding?
I'm serious.
That's like Chris Burkhardt's dad being named Butcher. His last name's Butcher, and he runs a meat shop, for crying out loud.
His name's Beard, and he doesn't have one.
There's, like, I don't believe that name.
It's true.
Plays for ZZ Top, and his last name's Beard. Incredible. I don't believe Burkhard and his dad's last name being Butcher, and he runs a meat shop. And I'm never going to believe Joe Fan's last name was Joe Fan.
I'll never believe that one. That's a name change for sure. Gotta be.
And he, on his social media, says, and yes, that's my real name. Yeah, well, I'm going to call you on that. No, it's not.
Yeah, we're going to have to argue that one.
You're a sports writer and cover sports, and your last name's Fan. Not just Fan, but your first name's Joe. You're Joe Fan.
Yeah.
You're that guy. You're the Joe Fan that we talk about.
The guy that everybody talks about. What does Joe Fan think about that? Well, let's ask him.
You know what's amazing? Tony and Boring said, your expression on your face when Sean Highkin said, after Scoot Henderson's first year, he's not good enough to really worry about who his agent is. Like, it's pretty amazing that that's where we're at after the first year of Scoot. He's not good enough to really worry about an agent right now.
I noticed you did make a little bit of a face.
That's not what you want to hear about your number 3 overall draft pick.
No, it is not.
We hope that changes. My guess is Kenny Chesney plays for longer than 55 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Or, excuse me, 56. See, the amazing part is 55 minutes, that's what Chris said. You wouldn't keep track of time if time wasn't a factor.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of those deals where, like, wait, they're done? Is that the encore? And then you look at your watch, like, wait a second, they came out on stage then, they're done now? That's 55 minutes. And then you promptly remind yourself that you're not going to go see them in concert ever again.
Well, and the first thing you remind yourself of is how much you paid for the ticket. And it's like, no, never again. Not to see this guy.
It just seems like that's where we're going. Like, where do you get your money's worth these days? El Gaucho, ringside.
Mm-hmm.
But how many places can you really say, man, like, dude, I got my bang for my buck there?
Well, they tell me Taylor Swift concerts, as expensive as they are, people walk out feeling like they got their money's worth. A lot of costume changes, long concert.
Watt, not TJ, but his brother. What's Watt's? I get the Watts mixed up.
Yeah, me too. I don't know which one's which.
TJ Watt.
They all look alike and they all play the same position. Sort of. It's like, what?
Oh, yeah, JJ.
JJ.
TJ, JJ. Creativity right
Give
there.
your kids a name. Initials aren't enough.
JJ, I remember what he tweeted out after he went to the Swift concert with his wife.
Mm.
He didn't know anything about her, right? So he goes to the concert, and he said that going in, he's like, great, I'm going to see Taylor Swift with my wife. He walked out a Swift fan because he couldn't believe that she played for over 3 hours and just boom, 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 just kept jamming out. As a big-time professional athlete, he respected the grind that she went through to put on that show.
It's hard for me to believe she doesn't lip sync some of these songs when she's on stage that long.
Well, I think it's hard for Dave Grohl to believe that too, right? Remember when he was talking about stuff being piped in?
Yeah.
Probably joking, I think. All right. Let's see here. Here is Rob Sipsky. He goes, I know it's not your style, but low prices and long shows. Fish, have you seen them?
Fish? No, my son's a total Fish head.
He
Goes
says
to concerts all over.
The Dead, Goose, Mo.
Yeah, Mo.
And he said progressive rock bands too. Rush used to play for 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Rush is one of those bands I wish that I have seen in concert, but I have not. Their music is so unique and wild.
Yeah.
Temple of Ceres, that's like one of the coolest songs I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, they did good stuff. They really did. By the way, I was going to tell you, this whole LeBron James putting the fake crown on his head while people are giving a standing ovation to somebody else is all over social media.
It's
People
my favorite
are
thing ever.
Loving it.
I watched it like 20 times last night.
God,
I love it too
hilarious.
because he literally thought they were cheering for him.
Yeah, he did.
They're not cheering for you, Braun. Sorry. I know that you think it's all about you, but it's not all about
What
you,
a
brother.
Classic.
It's just, that's the most LeBron moment of all time
I
right
told
there.
you, you're so vain. You probably think this applause
Is
is
about you.
about you.
Yeah, Carly Simon would not approve of that activity. All right, Justin Myers. We'll talk with him. We'll get a take on his experience at Big Ten Media Day, his trip to Hawaii.
Maybe ask him about some concerts he feels ripped off by.
And he probably goes to country concerts or something stupid like that. We'll find out.
Those guys play forever.
I feel like I need to apologize to our next guest. I made not one, not two, but 3 phone calls to this guy yesterday. That's too many times to call anyone.
Why would anybody want to talk to him?
They don't. They doesn't want to talk to me. I didn't really want to talk to him, but 3 phone calls. I apologize for that, Justin. I violated a lot of social norms there.
It was a 3 phone call day, Dwight. It was pre-lunch, I think mid afternoon, and then right as the happy hour was flowing in the Myers household, Chad dropped the 3rd phone call. But you know what? That's okay, Chad. I would rather you apologize for just before you went to break, because here I was listening to the segment before, and I have some thoughts if you guys don't mind. But I was listening to the segment before, and you play this wonderful story of Sean Payton and Kenny Chesney, who's my guy, by the way. Oh. And this great moment, I made this kid's night, maybe their week, their month, their year. And then you end it by going, oh, Justin probably goes to country concerts, something stupid like that. What do you think Kenny Chesney is, dude? What do you play this beautiful Sean Payton story? You don't say, oh, Sean Payton goes to stupid country concerts. No, Chesney was kicking butt and taking names. I've been to over 20 Chesney concerts. Wow. He plays a solid 2 hours every time. He crushes it every single time, runs out the hit train, makes a kid's day, signs a helmet everywhere he goes. No, this probably goes to a stupid country concert.
I like country artists. They're cool, but I don't like the music, man. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how it goes. Hey, my daughter is in Maui right now. You just went to Hawaii with the wife. How was it, man?
Hawaii was great. Yeah, I was in Kauai, which I learned it's not Kauai, it's Kauai is the proper way to pronounce it. Yeah, Hawaii is. I mean, it's perfect. It was never above 80 degrees. It was never below 70 degrees. We were staying in my entire family was there, staying in a house right on a very nice golf course. Didn't get to play the golf course, but got to enjoy it. And less than a mile from the beach. Yeah, all sorts. Like how can you have a bad time in Hawaii? It's the best.
That's a good point. It is beautiful over there. My favorite part about Hawaii is the climate. As you mentioned, not above 80, not below 70. It's almost always in the sweet spot over there. Have you noticed that, Godfather, with Hawaii?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It could be in the middle of the night, or you get up and go have breakfast at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's always comfortable. You're never uncomfortable over there.
And like Kauai, wherever we were at, the beaches weren't crowded. So it was nice to be out on the beach, not having to fight because that's the worst, right? When you get this idea of like, you're going to go to this tropical locale and you show up and everybody else had that same idea to go to the beach. So you're having to like elbow people out of the way. You're having to stake a claim, like you're in the Oklahoma land race of like, nope. This is our beach property right here. And then of course you have to fight off all the hotels. No, the beaches weren't crowded. It was perfect.
Yeah, well, you made another trip recently, and I wanted to ask you about that a little bit. You were in Indianapolis for the Big Ten Media Day, at least the last day of it, I believe. How was it?
In Indiana, heartland of America, Dwight. It was beautiful. I got to see the hotel, and the airport was nice, and Lucas Oil Stadium. No,
we put you on a pretty tight schedule, I know.
You know what? I put myself on a tight schedule, but you know what? That was the best way to do it. Here's the thing. It's going to sound cliche, but because it's the Big Ten, but it felt bigger. Like we've been to Pac-12, Pac-10 media days. They're usually in a conference room. I know they tried to do it on out in Hollywood, and they tried to do it in Vegas, but it's in, a conference room. This was in the football stadium. There were 2 television sets, the Big Ten Network, and then also Fox was there. 2 desk panel shows were there, and it felt like a big giant stage. It felt like big time college football, which I've always been in the past a flag carrying Pac-12. We matter. We're just as big as everybody else. It felt bigger. It felt more important, and maybe it was just because of all the changes that was going on. But the other thing was, I was there that last day, and they split it up in 3 days, and obviously a handful of teams in Minnesota and Maryland and I can't remember who else was there. It was Minnesota. It was Maryland.
Michigan.
And Indiana was there. But Michigan, Washington, and Oregon were featured that day. Michigan and Washington were in the national title game last year, playing each other for the national title. Now, obviously, both got new coaches, new quarterbacks, and everything else, but they were in the national title game. Oregon was the rock stars of the day. Everybody was fawning over Dan Lanning. Everyone was fawning over Dylan Gabriel. Oregon was the team that was getting all of the media attention that everyone was talking about. I was talking to a ton of legacy Big Ten media people there on Radio Row. All they could talk about was Oregon in a day where Michigan and Washington, two fairly big college football brands, were featured. Oregon was clearly the star of the third day of Big Ten Media Day.
And what's it like for you, as someone that's followed the Ducks your whole life, to know that they're preseason number 3, just behind Georgia and Ohio State, 2 premier programs, that they're now in a big-time conference, they have a national brand, and they absolutely are in a position to win a championship? Like, everything you would want as a Duck fan is right there in front of them for them to go out there and get.
No, there's 2 things. One, it's amazing because, like you guys, I've seen the whole journey. I remember 1999 when they unveiled the new uniforms and everybody in college football made fun of them. And they joked about the Oregon uniforms and what are they doing? I remember when they decided they were going to put billboards in New York City and just outside of Husky Stadium in Seattle and down outside of LAX, and the college football world made fun of them. It all seemed to kind of work. And to see that whole, what is now a 25-year kind of marketing experiment, from uniforms to billboards to social media. Now you see these mini movies that they are putting out. They put out a 30-minute Hard Knock style mini movie today that's doing huge numbers on social media. To see it all kind of come to a place where they are among the elite of the elite in college football has been kind of amazing. Now, as a fan, Chad, I know you understand this because you are a fan like me. Dwight, you are a journalist. You're a Big J. You are objective, and I respect it. You're not a fan. Chad and I are fans. I am so uncomfortable with them being in this spot. I do not like this one bit. It's like, it feels like the dog caught the car, right?
Wow.
It's like you keep chasing after it. I'm much more comfortable with Oregon being in the spot of nobody respects us. Nobody, East Coast bias. Nobody is giving Oregon a chance. No, everybody respects Oregon. Everybody's giving them a chance. They are a legitimate national title contender. You could take Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Georgia, any of those 4, put them at number 1, and nobody's going to really complain about any of it. Talent-wise, what they're doing NIL-wise, what Dan Lanning has done recruiting, they're there. They have now gotten to the mountaintop that they have been chasing really since about 1989 when they made the Poulon Weed Eater Independence Bowl. And now they're here, and as a fan, I am terribly uncomfortable with it. I don't know how these teams do it.
Yeah, I was at that Poulon Weed Eater Bowl, and I felt like I had eaten a weed, I'll tell you that.
Beautiful Shreveport, Louisiana,
Oh, my gosh.
just after Christmas. It was, what a beautiful bowl game.
We had one good night. We went to watch Centenary play a basketball game. That was our big outing for the week, yeah.
Robert Parrish is from Centenary.
I know, the Gentleman. That's their nickname, the Centenary Gentleman. But anyway, we were joking the other day. We're just joking about this. Don't take us too seriously, Justin. Okay. But they've been close before. I mean, they've been on the doorstep of this kind of thing before, but something always happens. Something happens that you don't expect to happen. You lose to the wrong team. You get upset along the way. Somebody gets hurt. Somebody has a season-ending injury. Don't you still have that feeling in the back of your head that something's going to happen?
I think every college football fan kind of has that, but I mean, you're right. But here's the difference in this year. You got a 12-team playoff now, right? So if you do drop a dumb game, if you do have an injury, if you do stub your toe, fumble, something crazy happens, you can get into a 12-team playoff and you can still maybe get healthy and make a run. But here's the other part of it, Dwight, is kind of looking back, and this. It all might be a bit of fool's gold. It might be smoke and mirrors, but you go back and you look at those years where Oregon thought they were there, thought they had arrived. And a lot of it was in those Chip Kelly years. And especially in 2010 and in 2014, where Oregon had unbelievable teams, and then they went up against teams that had legitimate NFL linemen on both the offensive and defensive side. And Oregon fans may not have wanted to admit it, but realized like they were still not quite there. They just weren't. They had speed, they had a scheme, but when it came down to the big boys up front, Auburn ate their lunch in that national title game in the trenches. That was a close game because Auburn turned the ball over a couple times and their offense sputtered a little bit as well. But you look at where the difference lied is Auburn's defensive line featuring Nick Fairley just destroyed them. And then you go to the national title game of the 2014 season, and, you know, both teams played fairly close until Ohio State got a third down. They gave the ball to Ezekiel Elliott and that offensive line that probably put 3 or 4 guys in the NFL, and they got a first down every single time. And there was nothing Oregon could do to stop it. This time around, judging by ranking, and I know rankings are what they are, and it's transfer portal and everything else, but with the gap that is closed with Oregon and NIL and the amount of money and opportunity that Oregon is now offering these players that are coming into the transfer portal, it feels like that gap has shortened a little bit when you look at their roster and the rankings that is compared to other teams, because there's a new ranking system where essentially they determine through transfers, through high schools, and through everything how many 4-star and above guys are on your roster. Oregon's sitting around 78% of their roster is 4-star and above on this particular roster, and they've never had anywhere close to that before. So I think this might be the one year where the talent, the scheme, the schedule, the opportunity, plus they actually have the dudes to compete with anybody else in the country, where it was clear even a couple years ago, we saw that opening game against Georgia. Oregon was good that year. They didn't have the dudes to compete with Georgia. Quite frankly, nobody did. And you've seen it in years past where Oregon's good, but then they just don't have the dudes to compete at that elite level. I think they might have it this year.
It's Justin Myers, host of Rip City Mornings here on the Rip City Drive. You know, you brought this up yesterday. It is interesting if you look at you and I and this dynamic that we have where your former quarterback, Bo Nix, is now playing for the Denver Broncos. My former quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, who was with the Sooners, now with the Ducks. And my former quarterback, Russell Wilson, is now with your team, the Steelers. That's a little bit weird that we're going to be pulling for each other's guys this year.
The sports universe just took a look at you and I this football season, Chad, and just laughed and laughed and laughed and was like, oh, hey, Justin, you made a lot of Russell Wilson jokes, specifically just to get under Chad's skin. Yeah, guess what? He's a Steeler now. Hope you enjoy that. And then, and then now, Chad, you have got, no, I think you always kind of liked Bo Nix, right? I don't think you ever had anything against Bo Nix. You just kind of felt I was maybe a little over the top with my undying devotion and love towards Bo Nix the last 2 years.
Yes.
Which I know drove you nuts, but now he's your guy. There he is. He's is he going to be the starter? Is he? I mean, I know you've been doing the Bo Nix updates. Is he going to be the starter?
Yeah.
Week 1?
Yeah, I think so. They put out that unofficial depth chart, which people jumped on me for yesterday, where he was number 3 on the depth chart. But you know as well as I do that unofficial depth charts at the beginning of the preseason don't mean jack. According to everyone I've talked to in Denver, and we just had Brandon Cristal on, he's been the best quarterback in camp so far.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I fully expect, and he was taken in the first round, and he's Sean Payton's guy, and Payton just compared him to Drew Brees. So, yeah, I fully expect Bo Nix to be starting. Yeah.
So you're going to have, and if he's not starting, he'll be starting by week 4. They might give you, a September of Stidham.
But that's dumb too. No one wants a September of Stidham. Like, that's not a good thing. Just put Bo out there from the get-go. He's smart enough. And I'm a big believer in, Peyton Manning even said this the other day, where it's all about experience. Get him out there and let him get through all the bumps and bruises as a rookie and work through it so he can be even better next year.
Well, especially because he's 28 years old, I think.
He might be 38, man. He played in college forever.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a rookie. He was a freshman in 2019. So, I mean, it is true that you look at Bo Nix, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Penix in Atlanta and how long they're going to kind of have him sitting on the bench, because I know they got Kirk Cousins. But these guys are coming in with years and years, with the COVID year, with the extra year that they gave him in the NCAA, and now with the open transfers and everything. These guys are coming in with a lot of games and a lot of experience under their belt. as opposed to, in years past where if you were a number 1 overall draft pick, you waited, you weren't going to wait past your, your junior year because you got to go make money. Well, now these guys, like, I don't know what Bo Nix got paid at Oregon last year. I've heard some numbers. It's pretty good. Nothing like a first-round draft pick going to make in the NFL, but, enough to live a really good life in Eugene. I'm sure Michael Penix was compensated very well in Seattle. Like, you can now stay in college and get extra reps, get extra games under your belt, work on your game, and get paid on top of it. And now these quarterbacks are going to be coming in more experienced than ever. So, yeah, I'm with you. There's no reason why you wouldn't start him if he is going to be your guy for the next 3, 4, 5 years. If he was a 20-year-old, third year true junior coming in, yeah, then maybe give it a year. But he's played 6 years of college football.
Yeah, I heard that Bo, I felt bad for him. He had to leave 1 year short of being vested for his college football pension. He was getting really close.
The NCAA pension program?
Yeah.
Is he eligible for PERS in the state of Oregon? Does he get PERS?
No, he makes more money than anybody on PERS. They wouldn't be able to compute that. They use your best earning years for PERS. Oh, my God, the whole state would go broke. But speaking of a lot of money, you're a season ticket holder for the Ducks, right?
Yes, I am.
Now, I'm real curious. You're getting Ohio State this year on that ticket package, and that's probably better than a Portland State game. No offense to the Vikings. But how much did your tickets go up? Is there any way you can relate that to us?
Significant, Dwight. Tickets were significantly higher. Also, it was a good year in the Myers family. Wife made partner at the law firm, so hit your wagon to a shooting star, boys. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So it was a good year in the Myers household. So we kind of upgraded our seats too. So so we got good seats and Ohio State. Now here's the thing. And now let me preface this by saying I am going to the Ohio State game and I am sitting in my seats. That being said, I could sell them and pay for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
that's how much the Ohio State tickets are going for. Like $300 for standing room. It's insane. Like $300 for standing room for that game. They might be 1 versus 2 because I think depending on what the rankings are going to be when they come out, Georgia might be number 1, but Georgia has to go to Alabama, I think, week 3. Oregon and Ohio State could be 1 versus 2 in that game. Like I'm not going to, but the thought has crossed my mind. Like you could pay for the entire season off of selling this one ticket because it's the hottest ticket I can remember in Austin Stadium history.
Justin Myers, host of Rip City Mornings here. Hey, buddy, we appreciate the time, man. Always good to catch up, and I will see you tomorrow.
Yes, that's right. Not only 3 phone calls, but then a face-to-face chat. Like, what on earth is happening? Look at the connection between you and I.
The synergy is it's indescribable.
I'm jealous. I never get to see you, Justin.
I think you might be there tomorrow, Dwight, when I come in. I'm coming in the afternoon. I'm coming out of the vampire hours and into the normal hours where the rest of the office is actually going to be there. So we might see each other.
When are you going to get the invite to the backyard, Godfather?
Yeah, probably never.
Nobody
invites me anywhere. Are you kidding?
Open invite, but you better get to the backyard soon because I know you doubt and you worry about the heating capacity of my Costco propane heater in the backyard because of the wind factor.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to be there on a cold day. No way. Not going for that.
All right, you're the man, buddy. We'll catch up soon.
All right, you guys are the best.
All right, high fives coming up next. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. All right, Godfather. We'll start with you. Who's going to get your high five tonight?
Oh, got to be Kenny Chesney. You know, Justin Myers reinforced it. Guy's doing something good for people, helping out. Good concerts. I'm on board.
There you go. I'm going to hand my high five out to LeBron.
King for a day.
For the most LeBron moment of all time. I'm never going to get tired of watching that video.
No, you could put that on loop.
I really think that video, it kind of encapsulates the entire LeBron experience.
Yes, that's him.
I'm LeBron James. I think I'm the greatest of all time, but down deep, I know I'm not. And if there's someone applauding it, it's got to be for me, right?
Who else would get applause like that?
Unless you're in France in their arena and their gold medalist walks in.
Yeah.
It's not for you. But he thought it was. That's an all-timer right there. That is a classic. Oh, my goodness.
Wasn't just raising his fist in the air, though. It was doing the crown thing. I love that. It's so absurd.
I'll never get tired of it. I'm sorry.
It's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, folks, you gotta go find it. It's all over X, what you may call Twitter.
All right. Tony Boring says, hitch a wagon to a shooting star. The Myers way of saying, find yourself a sugar mama. Well, whatever works, man. Justin found a pot of gold.
I'll tell you, good for her, though, to become a partner in a law firm. That is a big deal.
When I went over to drop off some equipment to him a couple weeks ago, first time I'd met her face to face, I've talked with Justin over the phone when she's there, and she offers up, hot takes during the course of our conversations.
Really?
Yeah. We were talking about last night. I was talking to Justin. I talk loud so you can hear me, but we were talking about quarterbacks and what Bo was going to do and whatever. And you can hear her in the background. Wait until Penix takes over in Atlanta. So she's already calling her shot for Penix as a dog fan.
Yeah.
I agree with her. Cousins better not get hurt or nicked up or even bruise a toe, or Penix is going to get in there lightning quick. They can't wait to see that guy throw the football around. And you know how Penix operates. He'll get one shot, throw a couple of deep darts for scores, and he won't give up that job. He's too good.
I know. Their only hope, if you want to unseat him, you got to root for an injury, I think. Because I think once he sits in there, he's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be one of those deals where it's like, oh, he's that good? Yeah, Kirk, we're sorry, but we're going to continue to play him. That's how that's going to go down. Cousins knows that, so he's going to do everything he can to stay healthy and continue to make plays.
Yeah.
Wild. Wild.
Yeah.
But my point is, his wife was awesome when I had a chance to meet her face to face.
Well, she has to be. She's putting up with him. I mean, come on.
That was my assessment of the situation.
I thought that.
But the good thing about Justin is he knows that, right? So he's not trying to pull the wool over your eyes about, hey, this is my shop here. I run, no, he knows.
No, I understand his situation because, believe me, I'm in much the same situation, being married to a doctor.
Well, next to the LeBron video being my favorite, you telling stories about going back with your wife to a doctor's reunion.
Med school reunion. Oh, God.
Hey, nice to meet you, Dwight. What do you do?
I was the dirty brown shoes amongst a lot of tuxedos. I just didn't fit. Yeah. What do? Well, I kind of act like an idiot on the radio 5 times a week.
And that's one of those things that doctors are not impressed by. It's like, oh, really? That's nice.
I couldn't really think of anything that impressed him too much, Chad. It was mostly just me being my quiet self in the corner, not, just trying to stay out of the way. The less you say, the less chance of looking like a fool. Because if you say something, you will be a fool.
What a fool believes.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of guys searching for what you and Justin have. They wouldn't mind latching onto a sugar mama.
When I met her and fell in love with her, I didn't even know she was a doctor.
What? How's that even possible?
I knew she was in the medical field. That's all I was told.
Oh, medical field.
Yeah, which I thought she was a pharmaceutical salesman.
Well, you make some big scratch doing that.
Yeah, that's a good job.
I got a friend whose wife does that and does quite a bang-up job. Let's just put it that way. Really good money.
Mm-hmm.
medical field. I guess. Well,
yeah, selling drugs works out really well at the lower levels and the upper levels.
It's true. I guess if you're trying to meet someone for the first time, you may not want to just put doctor out there because then you don't know people's true motives.
Right. And it's not something hey, what do you do for a living? You know, it's like.
I don't put radio host out there right out in front either for other reasons.
Best to hide it.
I got no time for that.
Best to hide it.
We're going to end the show with a different song today. Yeah, give me some volume on that. That voice
great song.
Is butter right there.
That is a great song. Good choice, Michael.
And yes, he's white. I don't understand how this guy sounds the way he does. It's truly remarkable.
But this is a great song because the story is great. It really is.
Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald had tried for about a year plus back in the day to get together to write a song. They wanted to write together because they appreciated one another. Michael McDonald arrives at Kenny's house and he walks up to the door and he can hear Kenny playing the song. And whoever's at the house, I think it was his sister, someone let him in. He goes right downstairs. He goes, "Hey, what is that you're doing right there? I think this is what needs to be next." And they had the song written in a heartbeat.
Oh, who wrote the words then?
They both did.
Oh, did they really?
Yep. And then it became a smash hit. And so they were worried because usually the second song is a piece of garbage after you have a hit song. So they're like, well, let's get this bleep out of the way. And then they wrote, "If This Is It." And the hook on that was pretty amazing because they didn't have the hook, "If This Is It." Kenny goes to visit his dad who's in the hospital. He had to have like some type of surgery. And his dad was all emotional. It wasn't like a serious surgery, but he's like, "Well, if this is it." And of course, Kenny's like, "Oh, that's it." And then he went back and saw Michael. He's like, "I got the hook. If this is it." And that's how that song was written. Another smash.
That was used one year as the theme for the NCAA March Madness on CBS.
Yeah.
That's what got me hooked on the song. It was perfect for that.
It's perfect.
This is it, you know.
And now they use "One Shining Moment" at the end of the tournament from Luther Vandross, another fine song.
Yeah.
All right, big thanks to Sean Hyken, Justin Myers, Michael Shacker, and the rest of you for checking us out. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Rip City Drive at 3 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.